So, good morning everybody and welcome to Soy's final seminar. As Soy said, there's a group of us here in the room wearing our masks as we're also compliant. And to those of you who are out there in the Zoom world, welcome to. The camera's there. Oh, I have to talk to the camera.
Yeah,
you can't see me.
Yeah, now they see you.
Okay, thank you, Soy. So, welcome again. I'm Peter Konoski and I'm the chair of Soy's supervisory panel, and I'd like to acknowledge and also welcome the other members of that panel, Hilary Smith, who's online, and Lisa Robbins, both affiliated with the Fenner School, Keith Barney from the Crawford School. Thank you very much for your work as Soy's panel members. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country on which we meet, the countries from which you're joining, and pay our respects to their elders past and present, and also acknowledge any First Nations peoples amongst us. Every PhD is a journey, and I think in Soy's case the journey was somewhat analogous to the challenging mountainous terrain of Northern Laos that you see in the picture here. But it's ended like all good journeys do, well, here with this final seminar and with the submission of Soy's thesis in a fortnight. For those who've been to Laos, it's, in my mind, it's a bit like arriving at sort of peaceful riverbank Luang Prabang for a drink after you've been out in the field working. So that's the image that you'd have in your mind, Soy. Of course, Luang Prabang's being transformed as well by the arrival of the railway from China, and the development goes with that. And that's part of the process that Soy's thesis is also addressing. So I first met Soy in 2012 when she was a master's student at Montpellier, and had come to Indonesia to be sent to the jungle to live off her own devices doing field work for her masters. And that encouraged me to think that she could bring those qualities to her PhD, which indeed she did. In that journey, as she'll acknowledge too, she's had lots of support from many people, and I'd like to acknowledge her precursor PhD graduate, Alex van der Meer-Simo, because Alex was doing his PhD in Laos at the time that Soy applied, and I remember him working with Soy on her application for an Australia award that ultimately led to her being the #1 candidate for Australia awards in Laos that year. And Soy's gone from that start through to this point with lots of interesting work along the way, and that's what she's going to tell us about today. So Soy, congratulations on getting to this part of your PhD. Some really interesting work, and we look forward to hearing from you about it.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. As Peter said, that I would say that before I start my PhD, it's just a journey that I have never expected. PhD will come in my mind at all, but in certain time when you work, you are not happy with your job, so you try to find a way to get out from the environment you are not really happy, but at the same time, you also increase your capacity and knowledge. So that's kind of destiny that I met my supervisor in Indonesia. Okay, so today I will tell you the story of my thesis that I haven't done for 4 years now, full 4 years, and is inspiring me when I go to the field. And now I want to bring up that story from the field to here, Canberra and ANU. So the research topic that I'm working on is riding the boom, and I will tell you later what is the boom crop. And so the topic is rural household participation and also the livelihood outcome associated with the boom crop in northern part of Laos. So I would like to thank my supervisor, my primary supervisor, Professor Peter Konoski, and the team with Lisa Lubin, Haley Smith, and Keith Barney. They all very good team and very strong support. We start with me. Is it two?
Sorry,
coming. Okay, good. Today the outline I have tell you briefly about background, Laos, and my research, and research question, framework, and the methodology that I have done, and thesis structure, and key finding, implication, and reflection at the end for the whole thesis that I have done. So I would like to give you a little bit background about why I interest in this topic. I remember back in 2017 when I joined the field work with my supervisor with Asia project. We drove to the upland northern part of Laos, where the landscape, as you can see on the left-hand side, is the traditional people who do their agriculture as an upland agriculture system. So you can see how steep it is. So that part is subsistent for them. But then later in 1980, when the government introduced the commercial crop, where they, after independence in 1975, they tried to open up their country with the economy and introduce commercial crops, where the right-hand side of the photo, you can see the landscape is changed from upland rice to the commercial is rubber. And then my original plan for PhD is not about boom crop at all. So my topic that I interest is about land use change and people livelihood. But then when we try to enjoy the field work, we were seeing that pumpkin everywhere, watermelons, bananas, and then the question popped up, why is happen in this area, in this geographic connecting to the export country, particularly China, Thailand, Vietnam. And then the topic go to, okay, we are focusing on boom crop. Then I do the literature review to show what does it mean, boom crop. So then I give you the definition, boom crop. Anyone know about boom crop? No, yeah, that's good. So the boom crop, I will give the definition very short, that it changed the landscape and it happened so quick, rapid, changing from traditional growing, and its content is multiple growth season. For example, banana is grow like 5 years and rubber is 25 years. So, and the landscape is changed from rice subsistent to the commercial thing. And also interesting to see that other literature mentioned that crop boom is give the rapid agrarian transformation for the livelihood in the rural area, and it also is a critical moment that transform and also process with extract the land resource, and also commodification, that their livelihood is changed from they used to be to become rely on commercial crop. So that's the part of boom crop. But one thing is interesting is boom crop, why it always happen in the geographic that connecting to the other country, like we use the word frontiers. Not me, not we. Literature say it happened in the resource frontier. Quote from my supervisor in 2009. And which is true, Laos is landscape connected in the northern part with China, Thailand, Vietnam, and all this boom crop happen in neighboring country area, and the investment is from there and export, all production is there. And Laos is not different from other country at all. It's also similar to Southeast Asia boom crop, where it's happened in the frontiers, border, and also it's happened not only for smallholder. In January, boom crop start with large scale, and people pay attention only large scale investment. As we can see, I capture from Google. This is in Lao, oil palm plantation. And you can see large scale. When we talk about boom crop, people think it's a big scale, but ignore in the small scale, like smallholder also part of the boom crop, where I can tell you from my field work that smallholder part of the boom crop system. And it needs an intention of what their livelihood change after that crop arrive in their communities. So that's part, in my research in Laos, particularly boom crop is happened quite new in late 2000s, and there are little study particular look at the smallholder participants in boom crop. That's the reason why I really interested to see why it happened in certain area and what are the livelihood outcome of the household participants in that crop boom. So I come up with 3 research questions, the main part. At first, I start with what are the market and policy that bring this crop to become a boom crop, and particularly focusing on the northern part of Laos. And the second one is how and why rural household participates in 3 crops that I select: teak, banana, and cassava. And after the participation in this crop, what are the livelihood outcomes? Are they better, or are they become the same? Are they happy, or are they sad, or are they feeling worse? So that I will tell the story in that coming. So with these research questions, we develop the framework to understand the complex situation, as I mentioned, why it's happened in a certain area, what are the policy, what are the market, what are the factors that every element that make this crop become a boom crop. So I start with the outline, we divide in 3 elements that factor external to the village, where it's comprised with market and policy context, and also crop characteristic themselves. That part will answer my first question about market and policy context. And the second part, I narrow down to the factor within the village, where is answer the research question 1 and research question 2, that to look at what is the village characteristic and what is the peer affect them. For example, we sitting here, our friend do this one, I may influence you to do or make a decision to adopt particular things. And the last part, I narrow down to factor within household, where the household can compare with the household characteristic, and whether they are better off before or they poor before, and how they participate in these crops. And the knowledge, whether they understand these crops or they just new for them. And last one is their livelihood strategy. They want to make their living based on their livelihood strategy. And either they want to be survive or they want to build their wealth. So that part is the framework of to understand 2 questions. And the last part is I want to understand their livelihood outcomes after they participate in that boom crops. I could read my research methodologies and the study site. So my research, we use the qualitative case study, where the case study approach, we select 3 case study, multiple case study, to understand the different boom crop. We select 3. And we use the household as household as a unit of analysis, where we use the household, the small unit, to analyze their adoption decision making and also their livelihood outcomes. And during my field work, I mostly in-depth interview with Thesis Structure questionnaire that I interview 180 totally for the 3 case study boom, mean that 62 in each case study. And we use focus group discussion and participatory observations and informal discussion. When I was in the field, I stay there for every field work. I stay 1 month to 2 months, just being in the field, like with the farmer, live with them, stay there, eat, cook, so I can observe everyday life. And also informal is very good one, that I can gain trust from them. And sometimes the story pop up later on, not only in my questionnaire, it's just during the daily discussions. Yeah, so that's my methodology. Then I will tell you the study site. So as I tell you, Laos is border with the China, Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, and Cambodia here. So my 3 provinces that I select for each crop, bananas I will start with teak as a long-term wood crops. We select in Luang Prabang, where Peter mentioned that it's very tourist area, that this boom crop can change the livelihood system. And I select 2 villages from this province. And the second one is banana boom in northern part with the green one is border with China. All investment from banana boom is from China. And the production is 99% sent to China. 1% is mean that the crop is not meet the requirement and farmer can feed their pigs. Yeah, so that 99% send all of that. And then banana is the new boom crop, which is happened in 2009 when I was there in the field. So it's 10 years compared to teak. It's long time ago. It's since 1980s. And cassava is also recently new. Probably it's similar time with bananas. And each village we select in each case study we select 2 villages to see and compare different. I select based on the geographic and also crop characteristic, that how much the household participation, and also I select based on the village willing to participate and accept or host me in the field. So this process, I have the support from the project. One is from Asia project. When I start my teak, we went to, my supervisor team went to Luang Prabang and we conduct the preliminary field work, and we went around 7 villages to ask whether they are willing to host me and also look at the landscape. Similar to cassava, I work with CS project in Laos with Yono and the team in Laos with Nafi that helped me to select the village. And banana also coordinate with the international organizations and provincial office to select the village. So before we select 2 villages, for me, it's a good experience to visit with many villages to see that what are the different and what are the similarity, what are the livelihood chain. So I pick 2 villages. And I'll tell you the thesis structure. I do the thesis by the conventional one, but all my 3 case study is prepared as an individual case study, individual paper that aim at the end of my submission, I will submit for the journal article. This is very good. I was thinking that if I do only my thesis, and then how many people will read my thesis? But if I publish it, it will be a good chance that people can know more story from the field, and the story that I have talked to farmer can be heard more than the thesis convention. It's both good because I have time to finish. I have limited time from the scholarship. So that's the first part. I do the literature review and then my research question and 3 main case studies. And the last part is the chapter 6. So we try to learn what does it mean for the 3 case studies. What are the different, what are the similarities from the 3 case study and what I learned. So I conclude with that. So come to the main part for my key findings. I give you overview in general things. So back to my framework. So this part for research question, I will focus on the color darker that factor external to the village and factor within the village. Why this factor is influence boom crop in that area, and also why the farmer participation in this. So we'll look at this one, too many data that you will read, but don't worry about that. I give you only in the red one. So look at the factor external one in the red circle. So policy, look at teak. When teak start, policy market is not really high. It's low influence. Because farmer adopt teak is not about because of the market incentive, but it's a policy itself very high, because Lao government after the independence, they try to organize the land allocation program, where is upland minority group is the target to land allocations. And then when people grow tea, they can book the land. That's why they say, oh, if I want to have more land, then I plant tea. It's not about economic at all. I just want land, put it there, I get land. That policy is very high when they start. And crop characteristic is, because it's 15-year long, farmer want to say that it's just long-term plan. And I don't have to worry about crop management. They plant and they leave it. Farmer in northern part, like in Luang Prabang, teak, they don't pruning, thinning is nothing for them. They just plant it to get the land. And when I look at bananas, market is so high demand, it's very good price. And China need more bananas. And we also eat bananas here. So it's similar, like market is very high. But when look at policy didn't influence at the beginning. Of course, it linked from the previous one when government opened up the country. Market is influence, but it's only medium to high. And the crop characteristic is because it's 6 years. When they grow, all the investment is company invest. So farmer don't have to pay anything, but farmer have labor to input in there. And then cassava, similar, market so high because it's the fresh crop. Cassava is very good that they can transform it, can be by biofuel, like bioethanol, and also crop that for food production, and it can use so much thing. In our clothes, we also have cassava stuff. So that is very versatile crop, and they use the word fresh crop, like flexible crop. And policy as the same with banana is not really high. So that's the first thing we look at the big picture, that each components have influenced these 3 crops to become a boom crops. And second thing is about land that I have mentioned, that land allocation is very, most people book for land, and also the proximity of the crop that close to the border. Banana and cassava is all export to China and Thailand. So then we move to the second part, the factor within the village and the household. Why it's become in that way? So first thing, land is the center of the allow farmer to participate in boom crop. If you don't have land, it's very difficult for you to participate. One is you can sell your labor. For example, banana, when you want to lease the land, if you don't have land, you can sell your labor. But when you have both things, you will increase loss of your incomes. And gender, so it's interesting to see the gender participation in boom crops. For example, bananas, if I have land, but in my family, I don't have men in my family, I couldn't do this. I can't manage banana. I can't sell my labor as they call plantation manager. So gender is, women rely on men a lot in order to participate in banana production, like to manage as a, but women can do as seasonal labor, just packing, washing banana. Imagine if one family doesn't have land, doesn't have men, what will you be? You will be end up do something else, can participate in banana boom crop. And look at the red circle, when the peer effect and opinion leader is very high for both banana and tea, because when tea boom, their friend will say, oh, you just plant tea to book land. And then also banana, the term is, they say lease land for banana is like working without, earning money without working. So it's a trend that farmers say, okay, I want to keep all the land for banana because I earn it. I don't have to. There are 2 types. One is I can sell my labor, and one is I can just lease my land. So it's very high that friend will say, just lease the land, don't cultivate rice. So you will be farmer. Now look at me. I have they pay more than $1,000 per hectare per year. Imagine if you grow rice, you can get about 600, 4 or 5, 600 per whole season, but you also work hard under sun and hot. So that's their decision they want to do. And look at this one, I have mentioned about green bank. So teak is like a green bank for them. That's why they want to adopt teak. And for the other two crop is a commercial crop. And interesting to see, as I mentioned in the last book, for teak, the investment only $70 for the whole system for them. But look at banana, you invest only, farmer invest only zero because all system is company provide. That's the reason why I don't have to pay, but I have to lease. So to lease the land and also labor, you get this much. And compared to other three crops, banana provides such a high income. But I will tell you whether banana is continue or stop. That's part. And move to the third part is livelihood outcomes. After they participated, they make a decision. What are the livelihood look like? So here, again, I will not give you all full detail, but the main part for teak is we look at positive and adverse impact. The first positive for teak is the green bank, and you also secure land. You become more land if you book more land at the beginning. But the adverse part is because teak is 15 years more, you can't do something else if there are other opportunity for you to grow other crop. Either you cut teak and then plant other things. But for banana is improve their life because so much money compared to other traditional crop. Banana give like more than double for livelihood, and then also give job opportunity. But the adverse impact is that banana use lots of chemical products, and farmer health and social and environment surrounding them. For example, river that they used to drink and take shower there, you can't do that anymore. So they have to decide whether to get high income or bad, like adverse impact health and environment. And for cassava, similar. Cassava is the good thing is because soy is so exhausted from the previous maize, and all the income from cassava, they can pay back, repay their debt. But nothing is sustainable because cassava farmer didn't apply fertilizer. In the long run, it will decrease, the soy production decrease. Now farmer already report that compared to my first year, now I don't get much, so I don't know what I'm going to do next. And then gender role, as I mentioned before. Yeah, so this all is livelihood activity where they move. So when the better off get income from boom crop, they tend to move away from agriculture, where they invest in shop or send their kid to school and higher education, and they won't return to become a farmer. The example from like me, my family, my grandparent generation is a farmer. My dad get educated, send me to school. We never get back to become a farmer again. Same like farmer here. And they will move away from the agriculture. And what they can do is they still keep the land. I'll tell you more the story in the next one. So the trajectory of the farmer who participate in the boom crop is like this balloon. I moved from subsistence, where the first photo that I show you in the uplands is the subsistence livelihood. Nothing come up. Once the policy open up the country, commercial boom crop arrive. So people become engaged in the market, and then after they become better off, they move away from agriculture. So it's become de-agrarianization, where people don't appreciate become a farmer is the way of living, but off-farm activity becomes public servant, open shop become more interest for them. But interestingly, those farmers become a better off. They go back to become a farmer, they buy more land now. And then they want to have like hobby. I can see here in Australia, the retired people also bought land and become a farmer. So that's the de-agrarianization. But all of this one is livelihood of the people here were shaped or reshaped by the boom crops that I have mentioned. And particularly in the big circle here in Laos, households are not just only step in one single or rely on one single activity. They are multifunctional and they keep one foot in agriculture. For example, farmers never abandon their paddy rice or upland. They will keep one part of their land to have rice to survive. One farmer told me that even though we are poor, we never sell our paddy or one of our upland rice because nothing, if we don't have anything, at least we have rice to eat. So that's their multifunctional, same, many farmers, this is their livelihood strategy. Okay, then all of this, I will make summary of the every factors that I have mentioned, that every single element that influence boom crop. Now, so this diagram, I will say the conjuncture factor over time. How it look like, we use the traffic light diagram, where in the traffic light we stop, we have red, green, and yellow. So on the left-hand side, no, red is the strong negative, yellow is moderate, and green is positive. On the left hand, when we look at teak, when they first start, I will give you not all example here. When they first start, policy, the factor external to the village, here is green, is very strong positive because the government influence that if you plant teak, you will get land. One thing that I forgot to mention is also land tax exemption. You don't need to pay land tax if you have teak. So the policy is very strong at that time. But later on, over time, it's become less influence because now there's no more land for people to book. And also land tax didn't apply. In my field work, when I asked, do you get the land tax exemption? No, I still pay land tax. So that's the policy that not consistent. And I will give you another example of banana. Banana, when they first start, like I say, is moderate influence, but now it's become more negative. The story is that policy now, because the banana is boom, create health and environment and social problem. Lots of media and local people report. Then what the government do is, I announce moratorium, ban, no more bananas. That's just sharp thing. So it's become very negative in terms of try to stop things that have provide people with a good income, rather than have the long process that fix it in the sustainable way, not moratorium immediate. And another thing for cassava is the same. Cassava is also government put the strong moratorium on export. So they don't allow, in the past, farmer can export fresh fruits, but now they don't allow to export fresh fruit. And then farmer and small scale processor from cassava saying that when government don't allow me to export fresh foods, I have to buy lots of equipment to chop the cassava, to dry it. And it's a big investment. And also I have to clear the land to get more land to dry the cassava. So I'm not sure whether I want to continue this business and whether I invest in the next 5 years. If the boom crop become bust, like price is dropped, my big investment is gone then. So it's insecure for them. So over time, I would say that the strong negative is moved to banana and cassava more. I move. And then this one also, I want to show you what the direction of the people and boom crop will be. So as I mentioned, teak, banana, cassava, where the policy, market, and crop characteristic. And then this is the correlation. So the yellow one is the trend that they are moving for. Now they have, for example, new boom crop arrive in teak village, not rubber. So they prefer to go rubber more because rubber grow only 7 years compared to 15-year teak. And banana and cassava. So new crop is arrive and make more choice for farmer to decide. And the new trend for cassava is because production is less and new boom crop is the cattle. farmers try to move to new crop where they say cattle, I don't have to work too much and is also saving for long term for me. That's a new boom crop for in cassava village. And interestingly, when the banana ban in my case study village, the investor tried to move further down. So in my cassava village, they have one company already contact the village chief saying that I want to invest banana in your village. That's the trend. And for banana case study, because it starts 10 years for the first village, and the contract come to the end because government don't allow the renew contract. Their strategy is they don't continue with banana, they grow pomelo, mango, or sugarcane, other new boom crop. And also they also try to ship to electric assembly factory. So it's about the complexity that whatever arrive in the village, farmer is the one who adapt to the what happened and what introduced to their community based on their resource, land and labor they have. Whether they can accumulate their wealth or whether they get exploited in terms of labor. So what's almost the last part, what are the implications for Lao government policy? As I mentioned that government are very emphasized on open up the country and focusing on commercializations, as I can see here. So this means National Socio-Economic Development Plan. So every 5 years we have that plan, and the plan is focused on agriculture is for commercialization. And in the past, they didn't mention about smallholder inclusive. So now they, for the 9th plan, the latest plan mentioned that we include the smallholder, try to be diversification strategy. And we look at this one. For the boom crop create wealth, where the community have wealth differentiation. The better off family already have their resource and land. They are the person who get more access to this boom crop and they gain more. So it's create, my result confirm that boom crop create the wealth differentiation in the case study village is being the wider gap. So, and also for the policy, Lao government, if there is land allocation available or opportunity, it would be great that government can look at the land redistribution for the poor people that they don't have chance, no land for them, whether they keep selling their labor for the whole life, if the government have opportunity to allocate more land, redistribute the land. And second part is teak is market in the global market is high, but local markets, okay. Market is high, but local land broker is monopoly trader. So the example is that if the government and the public can be enabling the honest land broker, then it will help smallholder to become part of the value chain and get better price. For example, farmer get very low price for teak, and they say because of the monopolist, the trader who have power behind manipulate all the market, and I have received very low price. That's what they say. So they say if I have more choice and honest land broker, I would get more price and higher benefits. As the Rob Cole mentioned, the smallholder success is depend on the institute and also private sector in the value chain. So, and the other one is geography. As I say that Laos is the landlocked country in the middle. So now the government since 2000s, they said bring the Laos from landlocked to be landlinked. As Peter mentioned at the start, we have railway from China down to Singapore. So we link to global market now. With the link geography, how can we make this become an opportunity for the local people? So without adequate or effective or well disseminated policy, it will be hard, and these people will be the most people who are affected, and they are located in the periphery of the location already periphery, and in the policy making, they are also in the periphery. They are not in the center of the policy development yet. And the last one, when I say periphery, as the cattle in Laos is become the new boom crop, and now the disease is started. So the example from Australia, biosecurity, is very new term for me. I did that when my supervisor gave the discussion of what does it for me, biosecurity. Then these people in biosecurity geography, if we provide adequate resource and knowledge for them, they can become the biosecurity for Laos. For example, when livestock from other countries arrive, these people train them well, have more resources and knowledge. They can be secure, and the disease cannot spread to other parts. So I would say that don't overlook on the smallholder who they are the one who played very good, important role in this chain of the landscape. And the last one, policies. I would say policy development in Laos and the implement need to be appreciate the smallholder who are part of this transformation from subsistence to commercialization. What are their views there? Bring it on the table and discuss. And what are the reality in the local context is very matter for our policy maker. So they are the one who will make this change also. So I would say that the view from the local people, that when I interview them, I want them to be heard. I want them to be in the policy maker. When making the policy, it's very overlooking in the large scale, commercial, modernization, innovation. What about the local people? Will they accept this one? Will they know this one? So I am part of that to represent how they feel from this boom crop transformation. Last one, my limitation is my field work is based on the PhD time frame. I have totally 12 months in the field, and it's case study, have 2 case study village to compare. So that's and also to see the livelihood chain based on the farmer memory. I don't have previous data to say how poor you are or how rich you are in the past, but it's only based on their memory and my understanding, I observe and circumstances. So, and then my research didn't focus on full value chains analysis. So only small parts of the value chains. The next future research, it would be interesting. So this one only information to later you can keep if you are interested. I have more detail. But main parts of the future area, I will say that it would be interesting to see how the government, private sector, and smallholder engagement and to make the sustainable agriculture development. And also, when the rural household participation is, what are the livelihood after the boom? Because boom is so quick. When it's bad, next research, maybe me or maybe other team will do the after the boom livelihood. What will look like, what their livelihood strategy. Conclusion. So, policy of the rural development in Laos is no longer place the smallholder in the center, as I mentioned that, and overlooking the countryside, the view. This is also found from other research like Jonathan Lee. He also mentioned that what will the rural development look like if we took the view from the countryside. It's exactly how I feel when I'm in the village. I also want to show that. And key point is that households in Laos are not rely on single activity. They do their best to survive and also do their best to build their wealth. So they are multifunctional household. They keep at least one foot in agriculture. we reflect our lives too. How many activities do we make for our living? Same with farmer, there are different source of activity, but they are multiple. So work of other researchers, private and public sector, and this part also bring the people from smallholder to be the center. And my research result already confirmed that my inspiration from the local people perspective and bring me that for all my whole academic area, since my bachelor, I always work with the upland community, where upland community is the unique, they have lots of ethnic group, and the landscape is very interesting, mountainous areas. My research, my aspiration, and the view from the local people, I wish that this research will contribute and inform the policymaker in Laos, bring the view from the local village, what they would like to see, and what their role can become part and important in the center of the policy. And they are not in the edge of periphery, but are in the center, geographically and also policy. So that's whole my thesis, the view and the story that I would like to share with you. So thank you. But now we have another one to thank properly. You can have time to look at this photo. A lot of selfie because I like selfie. You will see lots of my face in the photo. So I would like to thank, first of all, that my supervisor team, who are very strong team. I can say I am part of that. I'm still very privileged to be in their team. They are working together and they try to help me. They accept, I would say, special thanks to my primary supervisor, who I met in Indonesia before, and accept who I am. I couldn't speak English properly, write properly. To do PhD is so tough, but he accepted that and trained me for 4 years. And I'm so proud to be his student. And also, not only academic thing, in also like family life, activity, go for walk, like that. I think mental health as well. So during my PhD, we been together, hard time, happy time. It's all colorful, I can say, shading with the colorful thing. And the project, I would say that Asia project support a lot. I have funding that from Asia project. My field work all support by Asia project. And scholarship from Australian award. This scholarship is so much to tell in terms of inspiring rural people come to educate in Australia. And partner like organization like Jono in Laos, who are helping me with cassava case study, my supervisor team, and I can't even thank them enough for the community that I work with. Now you can see the photo here, having dinner or not dinner, lunch with them in the field, food is there. So I can't thank them enough. I would say that they are the one that I want to appreciate how they be part of my long journey. And every time when I call them, they will call Ipo, Ime. That means father and mother. It's like very emotional to see their livelihood there, that I go there and take all the information telling them. So I want to represent their view. So I want to thank them and other past. Special thanks to my mom and my younger brother who be there with unpaid my field assistant. So they're helping me. I need friends too. So they are helping me to be strong in the field. And my special thanks to my field assistant, be there with me. What we eat, we didn't have shower because the water from the banana plantation, we can't shower there. So that's how life has happened. And special thanks for my fellow friends and the group here. Look, in the center of the group. So thanks so much. And last but not least, I was thanks to my partner Nanda, who been here with me for 4 years. So it's so tough. PhD is so tough for me emotionally. And so we cry how many times I cry, how many times I smile. So, and thanks for all fellows who are hosts. I could say that Fenner is like family. It's true. Fenner is like family. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Soy. Thanks for everybody who's up there on the screen and who's not necessarily up there on the screen. Some of you know that amongst the other things that she did during her PhD, Soy won the Graduate House 3-minute thesis competition last year. You can see why. Also see that she's been successful in her ambition of giving visibility to rural households in Laos and the transformation that they're experiencing. And as you were observing, Soy, one of the next tasks in your work, writing papers, but also communicating the results of your research when you were back in Laos in only 3 weeks' time, for quarantine, is to communicate these results to the relevant institutions and stakeholders in Laos so that the research can have the impact that it deserves. So thank you very much for that. We've got some questions online, which we might be able to find on Soy's computer.
I can bring them up here and just read them out.
And we might have questions in the room as well. We're sort of up against time, so if people have to go, that's okay. But if you can stay and join the discussion, please do. Pete, should we privilege people out there in the world first of all, which might include some people in Laos?
Yeah, I've been there for a bit, so let's bring those up. So Alex Van Deer says, your slide with pictures comparing large scale versus smallholder planting separate wetlands feature. The strategy of some businesses to access land and labour forces in Laos by engaging many smallholders. Based on your experience, what do you think are the main differences in the landscape dominated by large-scale plantation and the landscape where thousands of smallholder adopting the same boom crop are amalgamated together? And if there are any differences in how these landscapes look like, can you tell about which of these landscapes may be better from a socio-economic perspective?
Okay.
Chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Thank you, Alex. So I answer Alex first. In terms of landscape, for bananas or rubber, I would say the landscape is not big different because it's smallholder also little by little combined become the large scale. That's why it's been the intention not only large scale, also small scale, because the landscape become change. In terms of socio-economic, I would say it's a big difference for me in terms of banana. For example, large scale will lease the land and keep the concession certain amount, but for the smallholder, they can make their choice in terms of land price. They can make a negotiation, but depend on their background and their power, whether they can get high price or low price. And they can also make their choice in terms of contribute their labor. But again, this is context dependence. Every geography have different. But my case study for the village one, that farmer can gain more when they can become a plantation manager. Not the labor as a daily labor. Daily labor pay low, but plantation manager, they can get higher. So economic return for the smallholder, if we apply the sustainable management, so smallholder will get more higher income. I hope that's Alex. Thanks.
Okay, a question from Trent. How about land accumulation process in your study areas? What is the role of private actors in this regard? Are poor farmers employed by them for sustaining livelihoods?
Land accumulation, is that?
Yes, land accumulation.
Land accumulation.
How did land accumulation, what's the land accumulation? How did it happen? What were the consequences?
Oh, okay. The land accumulation, back to the history, when they first allow people to book the land, and people who adopt teak, for example, they can accumulate lots of land. Some people have 30 hectares of land, and other people who are young generation don't have a chance to book the land. It will be only half a hectare or 1 hectare. So boom crop create that accumulation in terms of how long you have been settled there, what are your generations.
Yeah, it's just like houses in Australia, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, people like old generation, they've got houses. But I think you were also observing in that same phenomenon you described for teak, you're observing that particularly for cassava, that people who were had wealth were accumulating more land.
That's true. Yeah, every case study that teak, I give on the example, banana, cassava, all similar because land allocation was during 1995, where the people can book the land. So every crop, how information they access and the ability they book the land. Yeah.
Pete, we've got a couple of questions in the room. Can we take one or two questions in the room and come back
We'll go to the other two online.
to the Zoom room? Is that okay? So maybe yourself.
Yes, no, thank you. So I
There's a microphone coming.
oh, sorry.
And then down the back. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm just interested to know about the gender roles that you mentioned. And you said that you, I mean, the women can work in banana, for example. So have you found in your research that women are in less socioeconomic position regarding to the men and in these boom crops? So it's not favoring them at all, women, or?
Yeah, thank you, Giselle. It's a context, like I said, context dependent on the crop as well, crop characteristic. For example, banana, true. In terms of income, if you don't have men in the family, that household will be excluded from become the plantation manager. But if you have land, you still get the benefits as a land lease, but not the labor contribution. However, female can work as a seasonal labor in terms of washing banana, fertilizer, like that. So it's like labor, daily labor, not the main whole packet that you can earn 2,000 or 3,000 per year per hectare. Exclude in terms of that.
But don't forget those women who were able to move out of agriculture because of the income from banana leasing.
Yeah, that's
or
good.
Cassava.
Yeah, good. So yes, that's true. It's very complex in terms of household who lease the land. There's money. They can invest in open shop and have more time to do weaving in particular one village. So also I would say there is a positive and also negative, but it's context dependent on the crop characteristic and how they participate in that crop. And for example, cassava village farmer move to cattle, and women are like, oh, I'm happy I can stay at home and just look after my grandchildren, and men go to look after the cattle. So it's about the positive side of the crop that reshape their livelihood activities. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Sensory, and that's awesome presentation. You applied a series of different social research methods and got very important findings. But and I'm wondering that how this very important finding can better instruct policy making. And my specific question for you is that when you mentioned that in your policy that someone need to better appreciate the reality of the local context. So who are you mentioned? Is that the central government of Laos government or the local government? Because it's very important issue, because in such kind of authoritarian regime, and you know that the local government will have information advantages than the central government. So it means that even the central government has a clear policy goals, it will be twisted in implementation. And can you see that there are any interest conflicts or any conflicts between the central government and the local government? So that's my question.
Good. Thanks, Hong. Interesting question. I would say every level of the government need to involve with take the reality from the local context. I agree with you. Local government have the rule to take the message to the central governments. It's about paths of collaboration and listen to each other. And main important thing is who will be in the team. Is the resource person there? Is the characteristic and personality and also work ethic that the team who are there to send the message to the central government. And then this power from the local people can bring into the center, and center can apply and accept the reality and then bring it back to the local government. I need people, need more. Need people that strong.
Okay, the two of you can go and lobby government.
No.
We've got, I think, two more questions online, and we might take those, and then perhaps other questions in the room we can adjourn to the little pickle for a discussion over coffee. So Pete, thanks.
Okay, from Pautai, she said, great presentation. Following the changing states of boom crops, how do you define their livelihood, insecure or adaptable, or both, and why?
Good question. I will say again, it's context dependence. Their livelihood is a mixture. I would say my outcome is mixed. One is they move up to the better off, again, based on their previous wealth. Household who already well, have more land, more resource, can make better, riding the boom to better outcome in terms of their deserve. And other as a poor, their livelihood is insecure because they sell their land, or no, they sell their labor, particularly with banana where lots of chemical in the production. So their livelihood is insecure. If these banana keep going in the same pattern, even though they stop in the north, they move to south and central. What the lesson learned from this north banana boom can apply and be lesson learned to make it better boom crops in other parts of Laos. So so that's my answer, that is context dependence and where they are where their resources are. Land and labor is the center of this participation and outcomes. Yeah.
Okay, and last question here. Well done, Soy, great to see your work to get to this stage. Do you have any idea for how smallholder farmers might avoid the impacts of food bust cycles?
Yeah, that's like a conclusion that how we avoid this thing. Again, like when I say how the three main pillar, I can say pillar, private sector, government, and smallholder work together to achieve the sustainable. If they are just work independently and no other helping each other, so it will be hard for them. They will ride the boom again. It's like the boom and bust and apply, but the lesson learned is how can this every part of the government, private sector, to support this smallholder to get more technical support, knowledge, financial, and also the direction for them to move forward in the sustainable. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Soy. We should wrap up. Hello, everybody out there. Thanks for being with us. I also wanted to acknowledge Kenya, who's in the room, who's another Lao PhD student. Sorry, Kenya, I didn't recognise you behind your mask. Kenya's going to give his final seminar in a couple of weeks, I think. And it's great to have this body of strong academic work from Lao students at Fenner and Crawford. So best wishes for your work as well, Kenya. Soy acknowledged sponsors ACR, the ACR project that a number of us are part of. I want to thank ACR for its support and Australia Awards. Soy was the #1 student in Laos in the year that she was given the scholarship. And I also want to acknowledge that group of people in the middle of the picture, some of whom are here, the sort of journal club support team for the support that they give each other and me in our work together. And I'd like to finish by acknowledging that one of the things that Soy's come to appreciate since she came to Australia for Australian birds, and you can see that she's wearing a kookaburra brooch, and if you look closely, she's got kookaburra earrings as well. But she also made a beautiful etching of cockatoos on a piece of teak wood for me. So anybody who'd like to inspect some of Soy's other talented activities, that piece of art's in my office. I hope you've got a sense from, I'm sure you've got a sense from Soy's presentation of how informative her work is. It draws, as she's indicated, on a whole body of work in rural change. And I think it's been very interesting to see how the case studies illustrate a number of the sort of bigger picture themes that we see happening in rural transformation, not just in Laos, but in Asia more widely and globally. And I think that Soy's made an important contribution in that sense. And please join me in thanking her for her seminar, in wishing her very successful 5 days till she finishes her thesis and sends it to the editor, and ultimately a successful PhD examination and a return to lots of policy impact in Laos. Thanks a lot, Soy. Congratulations.